Welcome to the AI Ireland podcast, your window into the world of AI innovation on the island of Ireland. Join us as we explore how AI is harnessed to tackle both business and societal challenges, revealing the cutting-edge solutions emerging from this vibrant AI community. Don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates and insights in the world of AI. Hello everyone, it's Mark Kelly here. I'm very happy to welcome Filippo Sassi. He's Head of AI Labs at version 1, and we are coming to you live from the Guinness Enterprise Centre. Filippo, thank you very much for coming in and joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your work that you do in version 1 today. What does a Head of AI Lab do?
Yeah, so it's an incredibly cool role because we are working on the cutting-edge technologies, all about AI, and my team is a cross-functional team all over the globe, half data scientists, half AI engineers. We have a professional researchers to keep up to speed with all the new models, new regulations, etc., that are coming out every day. And what we do is to employ AI technologies to solve business problems for our customers in the quickest possible way. So quick prototyping in order to answer the question in the quickest way, is there the right tool or not for the problem under investigation?
Yeah, it's a particularly challenging time to be working in the world of AI because you've got regulation that's moving so quickly across so many different geographies. So it's not like you could just say, well, this is the regulation. You've got so many different types of areas, so many new different types of products, the open source landscape of the libraries. Like for anybody normal, you'd be thinking, why am I getting involved in this, right? It's particularly challenging. How do you kind of stay up to speed with the movement of that, you and your team, particularly when you're in the world of innovation, but also rapid prototyping where you need to start to show customers value quickly?
Yeah, it's very challenging, but it's also, that's why it's cool, in my opinion. And I can do that thanks to the incredible talent of my team. So these guys are incredibly, curious. They like to try new things, to test any new model that is coming out. And as I mentioned before, we have the professional research that is also helping a lot, especially on the regulation side, that obviously is becoming more and more important.
Tell us a little bit about SimpliText. Tell us a little bit about how did it come about and what problems does it look to solve?
Yeah, so we have friends and also colleagues in version 1 that have dyslexia, and people with dyslexia, they are struggling understanding complex text, longer sentences or complex grammar. So we were trying to see if AI could apply to the problem. And it was the perfect timing because a couple of weeks before we were at Microsoft Ireland, where we showcase a few of the sustainable AI application that we have implemented, and they reached out to us if we wanted to meet the Dyslexia Association Ireland that was exactly looking at this problem. So we started engaging with them, and so after a few brainstorming sessions, this is how the idea of the SimpliText generated.
So in terms of the challenges of trying to go about solving something like that, could you go into a little bit on the weeds about how you're using machine learning to actually enable an outcome here?
Absolutely. So the way the application works is using at the core generative AI. So we're using the latest available LLMs at the time, those available via Azure OpenAI, and that's for the simplification part. We are also using computer vision, document intelligence in this case, which helps us extracting the text, but it also does quite a good job to compartmentalize it in a number of paragraphs, which is what we are actually simplifying on the user prompt. We are also using text-to-speech services because we think could help some users while they are reading to have a voice guiding them doing so.
And was there any challenges that you didn't necessarily expect that came out from that? And also on the flip side, was there anything that surprised you about how more straightforward it was than maybe you would have thought, maybe a little bit more challenging in certain aspects?
Well, the application is quite simple. It works, it's a web application, so user can access it via the browsers, and then they can in the simplest possible way, they can upload a document, the document is shown on the page, and then they can double click on a paragraph if they don't understand it, and that is simplified is not simple enough, they push the button again and again until it is simple enough. The challenge is to maintain the substance, so the meaning of the text while you are simplifying it. And this is the main challenge.
Yeah. So how do you balance that responsible AI, that ethical approach of keeping the text honest in terms of it is fit for purpose, rather than trying to too much on the dilution side?
So experimenting. So we iterated a lot. So we tried different models, we tried different prompts, we optimized the parameters until we find, if you like, the perfect recipe for the task at hand. And I think we did a pretty good job, because I met Donald from the Dyslexia Association a couple of weeks ago. We were both invited at a panel on sustainable AI at the National Museum of Computing at Bletchley Park in England. And he was saying that he have seen a lot of these applications as part of his role, but what makes SimpliText stands out is that while it's simplified, it still keeps the message, and that is key, obviously, for this kind of application.
Brilliant. And have you received any other impact or use cases so far?
Absolutely. For example, a friend of mine she's called Sarah. She was chatting with me, saying that she was experiencing some issues at work. She needs to, read on a daily basis very long reports, and having this lecture, she felt she was kind of feeling a little bit back in her colleagues, and she was struggling. So we gave her access and said, well, give it a try. Maybe this could help you. She phoned couple of weeks back and say, amazing, guys, this is changing my life. I can finally, appreciate the content. And I think this is a perfect testimony of, just how AI could benefit, people.
What a wonderful North Star to be able to give that additional discretionary effort when you get that real-time feedback.
Absolutely. And also, I think it's very important, because, working with the people, this is the inclusive part of what we are doing, and I mentioned before, we have also version 1 with colleagues with dyslexia. So giving this to them, we can also understand how to make it better. So for example, I didn't know that dyslexia was qualitatively different. I know there were different degrees, but talking with the colleagues were telling me, for example, one colleague has an issue with don't understanding double negatives. Another colleague was telling me, I can understand everything but very long sentences. And that's why getting the feedbacks into the application, we implemented on the top of the general simplification. We have now a personalized settings configuration where you can set how to simplify the text. So for example, just remove the double negatives and make it shorter, etc., etc. So we have the general simplification or the tailored simplification, depending on the user's cases.
And where do you see this going, or maybe aspirations for the future?
Yeah, we are working these days on a plugin that we would like. Right now it's a web application. It's available via Azure Marketplace, but we are working on a plugin that the user can install directly on the browsers, and we are planning to include translation as well as part of the simplification.
Brilliant. Filippo, thank you very much for coming in and joining us on the AI On podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Did you know that there's over 200 podcasts on the AI Ireland podcast which showcase the best and brightest of AI being applied on the island of Ireland? If you're interested to find out more about how AI is being used day to day on the island of Ireland and abroad, why don't you subscribe to this podcast, and within 15 to 20 minutes, you'll have the opportunity to reimagine how you're seeing AI being worked in business, finance, healthcare. Outside of that, I hope you subscribe and enjoy the episodes.